Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 726 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day, is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. And for all of those who haven't already gone back to school, because I know in some places of the country we started a little earlier, happy back to school if you're going back today. Hope that everything goes very well for you. And if it's your first day at school today, I hope it's a wonderful day and that you get to meet a whole bunch of new friends. So for all of those who are going and all of the members of the DAMFAM who have their own little kits and cubs who are making their way to class today, hopefully everything goes very well for you. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Um, it's a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. It started off a little gray, but it is indeed clearing up a little bit. I see a little bit of blue in the sky with some cloud. Not a lot of bright sunshine yet today, but maybe that will come. A little bit of a weird day here at the Beaver Lodge, gets and comes, actually, because for those who might not know, when we do the show in our platform that we use to be able to broadcast live, there's a chat function. And normally, once the show is posted, the link for the show is posted and the start time is posted. People can start entering the chat and chatting right away. But none of the chat was appearing on my screen at all. So I was thinking, ooh, maybe something was wrong with the connection. But then started the show. And then as soon as I started the show, well, all of a sudden, uh, people started appearing in the chat. So all of a sudden you are here. Now, I don't know if I have all of you because I will have missed a few of you, but let's do a little magic mirror or magic monitor here today. I see Kit Argosi Acres, and I see Kit PNC Buyer with us, Kit Moan. I see Kit Saucy. I see a lot of people referring to Kit Linda, so I'm going to guess Kit Linda M is here as well. There she is. I see her right there. I see Kit Frank also. Hello, good morning to you. Kit Tavi G. Kit Ill today is with us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And who else do we have with us here this morning? Kit Nona Carol is with us. And if there are more of you, I am sorry I missed you. You may have just gotten in a little earlier today. Here's Kit Uncover. And you haven't intervened yet again since my chat function started working. But hey, it didn't look like things were going to work at the Beaver Lodge, and now it looks like they are. So I am not going to complain, and I'm just going to roll with it and be grateful that it happened. Kids and cubs, How is your mental health today? I hope it is doing very well. Mine is doing exceptionally well because, in case you haven't heard, because it was all over the socials, and you might have heard the scream of joy and delight from coast to coast to coast. Um, the beaver sweetie has landed and is back home here at the lodge with me. And I am so excited. There were cuddles, there were snuggles. I am happy to report. Doot, 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 doot. Snuggles aplenty at the Beaver Lodge. Ah, I missed him so much, and I am so glad to have him. My happiest place is in his arms, and therefore I have begun the work of finding my way back to my rightful place. So he had a great trip, a little bit of adventure at the beginning, at the end. Ended his trip with a little case of food poisoning, which had depleted him a little bit. Uh, but everything seems to be better now. Yesterday we had dinner and bland dinner. For because we don't want to try to upset the stomach, but kept it all down and woke up this morning feeling much better. It's been feeling progressively better a little bit each day, but yes, it's nice to have my sweetie, my beaver sweetie back and feeling in tip top shape again. And yeah, so uh, no matter what happens today, I am going to be a very happy beaver because, well, I'm in love. I'm in love. What can I say? And I have my love back home. Um, for those of you who were following a little bit my adventures, you know that this weekend I was planning to go see Hamilton in Montreal at la Place des Arts. And I told you I would give you my take on what the show was like. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to do that because, well, you see, as you know, I have allergies to certain foods, and I was in Montreal, which is not at home, which means I had to eat out. And I had a show, so I went for some Indian food because Indian food has very, 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 very few things at all that trigger my allergies. And then, so it was a new restaurant. So I did ask all the questions and I was assured that everything would be fine. And I've ordered things that I ordered at other Indian restaurants. I didn't get adventurous and try something new. Tried and true dishes that I knew should have none of this element to which I'm allergic to. And I ate the whole meal and the meal was delicious. And as I got to the cash to pay, the reaction started. So there was something in my food that should not have been in my food based on every single time in my entire life that I've eaten these food elements, these particular dishes. And even though I asked and was assured that there was nothing in it, there was. So I left the restaurant with about 50 minutes before the show and walked my way directly to the hospital in case it would be needed. Of course, I took a Benadryl right away. Fortunately, the allergy reaction was not severe enough. I did feel a little tingling in my throat, but I took it quick enough and fast enough for it to counteract what was happening. And once I was pretty sure that the worst of the reaction had passed, I made my way to the theater for the show. Got there literally 1 minute before doors closed. So I literally stayed at the hospital in case I needed to go to the emergency for as long as actually possible without missing the show when I decided to go. And then I got into the show, and the first third of the show was absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. Was wrapped with attention. Everything was great. Loved the story. Loved the music. Loved the performances. And then, well, Benadryl has a drowsy effect, and I basically slept through the rest of the show and missed it. So I tried my best to put my health first, but trying to play the odds so I wouldn't miss the show. And when I realized that my health would be fine and I could get to see the show, um, I ended up missing the show anyway. So, yeah, a bit of a bummer in that sense because uh, the travel there, the lodging there, the eating out there, everything was well, all for one, all to see that show, but two, obviously, I went to meet my beaver sweetie in Montreal and make the drive back home with them, so I could see him sooner than I would if I just waited at home for him to get home because I missed him that much. So I mean that part went well, but everything else was pretty much for naught because I only got to see a third of the show. Fortunately, it seems I wasn't snoring when I slept because nobody nudged me. But yeah, Uh, yeah, I fell asleep about with about 2 or 3 numbers left in the first act. Woke up for the intermission. Was awake for the entire intermission. Told myself I would stay awake for the second half. I would will myself to stay awake. Much like you do when you're going under for surgery and you're counting backwards from 10, and you say, "I'm going to make it to 3 this time," before conking out at 6, right, or something. Um, so I really tried, but as soon as the lights went down for the second act, basically I woke up when somebody died, and then I woke up for the last 6 beats of music before the lights went out, and they all came up to stand up for their applause. Yeah. So, uh, so I'm not wasn't sure in the moment whether or not to be angry and resentful that something made me miss the show, or happy that I didn't have to spend the night in the hospital and that I still got to see a third of the show. Um, so yeah, file under things that only happen to me. But yeah, I no, only got to see the third of the show, so I'm probably not going to buy another ticket before the end of the show, the end of the run, to go back and see it. So I might have to do the Disney Plus thing, and if the movie is still up, the cinema version of the stage play, because I know they did that, and maybe watch it from the point where I fell asleep to actually see how it ends and what it is. But I'm very, very disappointed. I waited a long time for this. And the other part is that when I go see a show, I don't like to, and I don't know anything about it. I don't like to know anything about it. I like to go there and just be hit with the full experience. So I have managed for this entire time to know as little as possible about the story. I mean, I've turned everything off. I never read reviews. And all that kind of stuff. I didn't watch the Tonys that year, right? So I knew of the Alexander Hamilton opening song. I knew of the Schuyler Sisters song because we did a backwards Broadway cabaret one day, and like this, and that was a number in one of the shows. There were other songs that I did know as they were playing that I'd heard before, but I didn't necessarily know that they were from Hamilton, especially the ones that the King sings, that are just they're horrible, but hilarious. Um, but yeah, I didn't know anything, and I'd managed to successfully not know. So yeah, uh, I still don't know. That was a lot of work too because Hamilton was everywhere. So yeah, um, like I said, the kind of weird stuff that only happens to me. But yeah, I was quite upset when the reaction started, and I was starting to itch and scratch myself, and I was like, "Oh, fuck, really? Of all nights?" And the worst part is that for about the last 2 3 weeks, I've been thinking, like I'm going to have. It's like I'm about due to have an incident at a restaurant that goes wrong because it has been quite a while. I've been on a fairly good good tear. It normally happens about once or twice a year. And then I end up going to a restaurant and I'm assured that everything is fine and it is not at all. Sometimes are worse than others. This was particularly mild. Um, but yeah, it was, yeah, yeah. I have to think it was maybe like uh, uh, a quarter teaspoon of flour or something that was used to thicken something up that may have caught me, because it wasn't a large amount. But and like I said, one Benadryl took care of it, and I didn't need any IV stuff. But yeah, oh well, c'est la vie. But yes, I will figure out at some point a way to see the rest of the show and find out how it actually ends and what the actual whole story is. Because at the moment, I still do not know. Oh well, it happens. It happens. Yeah, exactly, Kit Elaine. I paid for an expensive nap, and the itch is terrible. I know, right? For any of you who have those allergic reactions to food or whatnot like this, when you get that itchiness and it just like you just want to scratch and scratch and scratch. And I'm going to stop talking about it because psychosomatically, I'm probably going to provoke people to start scratching that now. So I will stop. But yes, I personally, the most important thing is that I am fine, right? And yeah, but it's it's frustrating when you like plan a whole weekend and it's if it hadn't been just at home, that would have been one thing. I still would have been upset, but it would have been just the ticket. But this was like ticket and time. I made sure to go the night before so that I would wake up in the city on the night of the show, not take the risk traveling on the day of the show because sometimes things happen, especially to me. So, and by the time the show ended, of course, you had to lodge in Montreal that night. So, 2 nights lodging, lots of food, eating out, and all that kind of stuff. So, the going to see the show was more than just the ticket to the show. So when you put all of that, and all the time that you put in, and then all of a sudden it's just all for naught at the end, it's a it's a little frustrating. I have to be totally honest. Oh well, it happens, and let's move on now. It's been some very, very big days. Number one, I hope you enjoyed the show a little bit that we had with a little bit of dose of grizzly for those of you who have missed him. But yes, uh, there has been a lot, and we won't be able to get to all of it today. Because yesterday was Labor Day, and today, for many people, is back to school. We decided to focus on stories that have something to do with education and job actions. But there's been lots of stuff, right? I mean, the Trump tariffs were ruled illegal for a second time in a court. And there's lots of fallout from that, and hopefully we'll be able to get to that during the week at some other time. Um, we've got uh, we've got lots of stuff going on here. We got Pierre talking about carbon tax 2.0. We got Pierre talking about a public prayer ban. We got people talking about Pierre going out for yet another makeover. Uh, the major projects office have opened as well for the Bill C5 thing. There was more Russian attacks on Kiev that were pretty bad. Got Q2 numbers from quarter two numbers for Canada. Like I said, lots of stuff in the news. And like I said, hopefully over the course of the week, we'll be able to get to all of them. But today we are going to focus on health, not health, sorry, on job action and education because, like as I said, it was Labor Day and we are back to school. And hopefully, we'll have a little bit of time for Canadians who make us proud and maybe even potentially a little bit of news from the DAMFAM because there were some celebrations. Actually, you know what? Let's get that done early so I don't forget to do them. Um, Kit Rain recently had a sweet 16. So happy belated birthday to you. I hope it was absolutely fantastic. The Breens had some travel to the town of the Beaver Lodge, which, had I known beforehand, I maybe would have made an attempt to reach out and see if we could have said hello in person, but I hope that your trip was absolutely wonderful. For Kit Nona Carol, her Kit Panic celebrated their 27th birthday recently. So happy birthday to you as well. I've been reading a lot about your adventures and hoping that everything is going well there. And let's see. Oh, yes. And there was one more thing that happened over the course of the weekend that I am delighted, beyond delighted to report, Kits and Cubs, because it's good news that happened to a very, very dear friend of the Beaver Lodge, um, Mr. Devin Haru. You know him, you love him, and over the course of the weekend, on Friday, he got married. He got married to his love, his sweetie, and the pictures. It looks like it was one heck of a party. There's lots of joyous pictures of them celebrating together. Colleen Jones, Devin's very good friend and avid curling fanatic. National champion several times, Colleen Jones, I think maybe even world champion, if I'm not mistaken, was officiated the wedding. So that was a lovely time. There was dancing and all that good stuff. Um, all the pictures look fantastic. And so, yes, uh, Devon and your lovely sweetie and everyone, I am hoping hoping that you have a lifetime of happiness and cuddles and snuggles and good stuff and yes, moments of joy like this with dancing. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to be at that party? They look like they're having such a good time. Devin and Devin Sweetie. Mm, all the love from me personally, from Mr. Grizzly, and all of the DAMFAM. Again, a lifetime of happiness and laughs and cuddles and support and caring and all that good stuff. And hopefully, when you are next on the show, you can tell us all about it because we want all the dish. All the dish. So, yes, we want to celebrate that. We love love at the Beaver Lodge. We just love love. So there you go. Wanted to make sure that I get that in, that I didn't forget that today. Okay, kits and cubs. Well, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right. Well, let's start with labor issues here because yesterday was Labor Day. In all places of the country except one. I mean, it was still Labor Day. But it seems that in Alberta, Labor Day is no longer Labor Day. Labor Day is Alberta Day. And it seems that that change made by the UCP. Not sure if it was made under Danny or made under Jason Kenney. I am going to guess that this might have been a move that was made under Jason Kenney. But let's hear a little bit from our friend Lisa about this here.
And just a reminder, the UCP in Alberta changed the name of Labor Day to Alberta Day. Not because they needed a day to recognize Alberta, but because they do not value labor. Oh, they need it. They need it very much in a variety of public sectors: education, government, healthcare, and a variety of other sectors across this province. But they don't value it. They don't want to recognize its importance. And so, in their infinite wisdom of devaluing frontline workers, basically trying to union bust, pushing hidden privatization and not so hidden privatization, bumping workers around so that there's instability and insecurity, not bargaining in good faith, mandating wages, which isn't how you bargain, and sitting back and pointing the finger at frontline workers for once again wanting to stand up to say that they should be valued because the work that they do is important. So Alberta Day will always be Labor Day. And because frontline workers are really what keeps this province running, it's not the politicians, it's not even the employers, it's the workers who get up every day, go to work to keep this province running. So thank you, unions and frontline workers. I wish you didn't have to constantly remind the boss how important you are. It would be nice if all employers recognized the value of their employees. But alas, that doesn't happen. And so I stand with union workers.
And so do we, kits and cubs. So, yes, that was definitely done by Jason Kenney. Looking back here, um, July 11th, 2022. According to CTV News, the provincial government has announced that September 1st will be known as Alberta Day to celebrate the province's cultural history and the anniversary of its place in Confederation. Yes, rather than Labor Day, it would seem. That was, the move. So, for those who like a little history of Craig Baird of Canadian history, it says on September 1st, 1905, Alberta and Saskatchewan were carved out of the Northwest Territories. Remember that, kits and cubs. Alberta did not join Confederation. There was no Alberta to join Confederation. But before that happened, there were many possible provincial proposals. One was a very large province called Buffalo. And this is the story of the potential provinces. So, a little history class from our friend Craig, given that we're talking about back to school. As plans were put into place to create provinces out of the Canadian West as the population increased due to settlers arriving, several proposals were considered. One was to create a single province out of a modern day southern Alberta and Saskatchewan. Another option was to create two provinces divided west to east, not north to south, at the 52 degrees north, or create three provinces, one large, one stretching from BC to Manitoba in the south, and two in the north running south from the edge. Some wanted four provinces dividing current Alberta in half west to east and making central and southern Saskatchewan into their own provinces. Others wanted four provinces dividing current Alberta in the middle west to east, then dividing southern Saskatchewan. Then there was the province of Buffalo. The province encompassed most of present-day Alberta and Saskatchewan, with the border in the northern part of present-day Saskatchewan and running south. Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, and Regina were all in one province. Another version of the province ran from the Rockies to North Lake Winnipeg, with the northern border at 57 degrees north. Edmonton and Calgary were not in favor of this idea, since Regina would be the capital of the large province. Northwest Territories Premier Frederick Holten wanted a large province, but he was a conservative and PM Sir Wilfrid Laurier was a liberal. They did not get along. There was also a concern that a large province in the west would minimize the power of Ontario and Quebec in the east. Choosing the arbitrary line that is now the Alberta-Saskatchewan border was also to divide the potential strength of the Conservative Party, which was concentrated in the south along the CPR main line in the two provinces. Things could have been different if the Conservatives won the 1904 federal election and not the Liberals. Had that happened, Manitoba may have seen its border expand westward, not northward, and the remaining area would have become the province of Buffalo. And there you go. That was a little bit of a news history from Craig Baird with regard to Alberta. So yes, Jason Kenney decided that Labor Day was Alberta Day because, heaven forbid, we should celebrate labor in conservative land. Well, when we're talking about Labor Day, we talk about labor negotiations. And as you know, recently we had the threat of a strike from the flight attendants, Air Canada, which ended with the company locking them out. And then the government of Canada invoking the Canadian Industrial Relations Board to bring people back to work and to the negotiating table, an action that the CIRB did not back with any judicial strength, which created an opening for the union to reject the return back to work, as the federal government announced a probe into Air Canada's labor practices, which seemed to provoke both sides to come to the table and come to a mutually agreeable entente very shortly after both sides realized that they were not going to get what they wanted from the government in this case, even though the government was applying some pressure to get to a deal. Well, it seems that there is another place in Canada that has some labor action, several places actually, but one of them is Canada Post, we've talked about before. They've been in negotiations for 21 months. You'll remember that less than a year ago, around Christmas time, I believe it was, its 55,000 members went on strike, and both sides were ordered back, and a mediator was assigned. Well, it's been about 9 months since that, and both sides are still exactly worlds apart. Canada Post says it needs to restructure. However, according to Ian Lee, who's an associate professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University, Canada Post is not really being honest with itself. In his opinion, based on his analysis of the numbers, Canada Post is insolvent and is bankrupt, and it's going to take more than the few sort of cosmetic tweaks that Canada Post appears to be looking at in order to get itself back in shape. In order to do that, he says that the situation requires radical surgery and not just a couple of tweaks. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers, of course, are rejecting all of this uh, situation and says that there has to be other ways than what Canada Post is wanting to do. So they have not been able to come to an agreement. Canada Post, while it has a monopoly on letter delivery, none of us are really sending letters all that much. Uh, it does not have a monopoly on parcels, so there's lots of competition there, and Canada Post is not as competitive as it should be in that particular market. According to Lee, we would probably need to cut home delivery to all the places except for about, the 20% of Canada that is really, really rural and can't get mail delivered or can't get to a spot or central spot to collect mail themselves. Um, and that delivery itself should be reduced from 5 days, probably severely reduced to like 2 or 3, and that the Canada Post outlets out there should actually be franchised out. Uh, but he says that if you do that, you're probably going to cut about 30 to 40,000 employees of about the 55,000 or so. So you could see where the Canadian Union of Postal Workers would probably not be too keen on that if the most drastic medicine was applied. And this is not what Canada Post is even proposing at the moment. But it would seem that, according to Lee, that about 75% of Canada Post's budget is indeed labor, and therefore, um, right, you would need um, some, well, I guess, like I said, some drastic action if indeed is true that it is insolvent. Um, so yes, there's not been much opportunities here. Well, opportunities, willingness um, by both sides to come to some kind of agreement. Now, this is from about 2, 3 days ago. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers did accuse Canada of demanding concessions instead of bargaining. Seems to be an issue here. It says that Canada Post is refusing to negotiate in good faith. In a statement released Thursday, the Canadian Union of Postal Workers said Canada Post has not moved from the final offers it issued in May, even after union members decisively rejected them. The union says its comprehensive counter-proposals submitted on August 20th have not received a meaningful response. Instead, the Canadian Union of Postal Workers says management is demanding concessions from workers which the union argues would undermine jobs, rights, and the quality of public service. Quote, Postal workers have been clear, we are not here to make concessions that erode jobs, rights, or the public service, said National President Jan Simpson. The union maintains that Canada Post must begin engaging seriously with its proposals if progress is to be made. Quote, negotiations require both parties at the table, not one side dictating terms and demanding that workers pay the price for management's failures, the statement said. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers added that it remains committed to achieving negotiated collective agreements that respect workers and strengthen the postal service, but called on Canada Post to move away from issuing press releases and start genuine bargaining. So, yeah, the situation here is not the best. Now, according to Canada, and this is by Ari Rabinovich of Global News, well, they say the Canadian Union of Postal Workers need to align with the company's realities and that the union's offers in ongoing labor talks are both, quote, unaffordable and pose a substantial gap between the two sides. In an email statement sent Wednesday evening of last week, Canada Post said it had met with the union earlier that day. Quote, after many months of difficult negotiations and mounting losses, the corporation was looking for workable solutions to be brought to the table that would get the parties closer to a resolution and end the uncertainty for employees and customers. Unfortunately, the Canadian Union of Postal Workers has either maintained or hardened its position on many items and added new demands, and the gap between the parties remains substantial. Canada Post continued, after carefully reviewing the Canadian Union of Postal Workers' comprehensive offers over the past few days, the corporation today urged the union to revisit its offers to align with the realities confronting the company. We remain open to reviewing and discussing amended proposals. In a separate statement, the Canadian Union of Postal Workers rejected Canada Post's comments and maintains its response to the company's offers is comprehensive and benefits both sides. Quote, Canada Post's latest comments show once again that the corporation is not serious about bargaining in good faith. Even after losing the forced vote, management has refused to move from its so-called final offers of May 28, 2025, and has failed to provide any meaningful response to the comprehensive proposals the Canadian Union of Postal Workers submitted on August 20th, the union said in an email statement to Global News. Instead, Canada Post continues to demand concessions from postal workers while ignoring solutions that would improve service, protect jobs, and secure the future of the Postal Service for all Canadians. The union continued. Postal workers have been clear, we are not at the table to accept rollbacks. We are committed to achieving fair agreements that respect postal workers and deliver for the public. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers calls on Canada Post to stop misrepresenting negotiations and to engage seriously with our proposals at the bargaining table. With the aid of a federal mediator, the two sides have met several times in the most recent round of negotiations since union members rejected Canada Post's latest and final offers tabled in May 2025. Earlier this week, the company released its latest quarterly earnings results, which painted a dim picture, showing some of the steepest losses to date. According to Canada Post, the second quarter of 2025, April through June, saw a before-tax loss of $407 million, which was the worst for any quarter to date. Canada Post said one of the factors was the labor disruptions, including the ongoing overtime ban for the union's members, which limits some deliveries. With the on and off negotiations and labor disruptions, many Canadian businesses have looked to alternative carriers, which Canada Post noted as being the primary reason for a drop in revenue during the second quarter. At the negotiations on August 27th, Canada Post said the union proposed items that would add to the company's costs. Quote, several proposed items would increase the corporation's operational costs, while the union's offers included some part-time employee component to address weekend delivery. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers' proposed approach remains unaffordable, problematic, and complex to manage, said Canada Post in its statement. Although the Canadian Union of Postal Workers members are still imposing an overtime ban, a full strike similar to what was seen in November of 2024 has not been ruled out by either side as a possible outcome of the current negotiations. When the Canada Industrial Relations Board approved a request to force an end to the strike by then Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon, an analysis was launched by the Industrial Inquiry Commission. The IIC found Canada Post was facing an existential crisis. It is effectively insolvent or bankrupt. The commission also included suggestions to help the company become profitable and competitive again, such as ending some individual address deliveries and expanding community mailboxes, as well as ending delayed daily deliveries. Quote, both parties need to agree on an approach that addresses the corporation's challenges, supports its people, and starts to secure the company for employees and customers. We are ready to make Canada Post an organization that better meets the needs of all Canadians while building a financially sustainable future for the company. At the Industrial Inquiry Commission, Canada Post shared urgent changes needed to help put the organization on a solid path for future success, said Canada Post in a statement. So we'll see what happens from that. But it seems to be at the moment that it is a very, very, very serious impasse that for the moment doesn't seem that there's going to be anything obvious anyway that is going to resolve it. And it seems that various job actions, at least the one that happened last December, all it did was precipitate the insolvency of Canada Post by forcing potential customers to run to other delivery services, particularly for parcels that were much more reliable. And it seems that they have stuck with them since then. So, um, yes, it's going to be a difficult situation here, particularly for the workers, I think, because of everything that they do job action wise sends people to competitors. It just hastens the insolvency of Canada Post and makes it less likely that the corporation will be able to do something that would meet the expectations of the workers here. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to be in that situation where you want to advocate for your rights, but if you do, you hasten the demise of the corporation from whom you are seeking better working conditions. So we'll have to see what becomes of that. Now, there are several others job actions going on here at the moment, and one big one that is happening in the province of British Columbia, kits and cubs, because there, according to Courtney Dixon of CBC News, the BC General Employees Union, or the BCGEU, had issued a 72-hour strike notice for more than 34,000 public sector workers, and that was on August 29th, which means that 72 hours is probably up by now, or close to if it's not. Of the 86% of members who participated in the strike vote, the union said 92.7% voted in favor of job action. It said job action could start as early as this morning, the day after Labor Day. However, the union did not provide further details on the 29th of August about what the job action might look like. The thousands of public service workers that could be on strike next week include wildland firefighters, social workers, correctional officers, and sheriff's administrative professionals, conservation officers, court workers, and scientists, among others. As the cost of living remains high throughout BC, the union said it's fighting for better wages and remote work options. BCGEU, that's the employees union, President Paul Finch said that the government's latest offer doesn't adequately address the affordability crisis plaguing the province. Quote, wages need to reflect the real cost of living, union member and BC Liquor Distribution Branch worker Shannon Butt said in a news release. Right now, my biggest fear is losing my current rental agreement and being forced into market rates I simply can't afford. The union is also pushing for fewer non-union managers so that resources can be put towards workers. Quote, government has been hiring excluded managers at twice the rate of frontline workers, which means more bureaucracy, fewer people serving the public, and workers forced to do more with less, Finch said in the union's news release. Negotiations with the provincial government, quote, broke down mid-July, the union said. A group of more than 1,800 members of the GLP, the government licensed professionals, have also served a strike notice, according to the Professional Employees Association, the union that represents them. This includes engineers, foresters, geoscientists, and psychologists, as well as other specialized professionals. The association said it had been in negotiations with the province since late May. It too is looking for increased wages, but is also after professional fee coverage and appropriate compensation for emergency work. Quote, until the government makes fair compensation a priority, vacancies will remain unfilled and more professionals will leave, Association Executive Director Melissa Moroz said in a news release. The province held a news conference on Friday afternoon, but Transportation Minister and House Leader Mike Farnworth wasn't answering reporters' questions on the province's offer. Quote, negotiations take place at the bargaining table, Farnworth responded. He said the BC Labor Relations Board will determine essential service levels for roles that involve public safety, such as firefighters or sheriffs. Farnworth said negotiators will meet again next week. So that's what's happening in British Columbia, at least as of the 29th. If there's been any developments, I'm not aware of them yet over the course of the weekend, but I'm sure we will hear about it soon enough. Since we were talking about Alberta earlier, and Alberta not particularly respecting workers, well, Alberta, which has one of the worst per student funding rates for education in the nation. So again, not really valuing education or those who provide it. This, according to Ken McGillivray of Global News, it seems that, and this also was posted on Friday, the 29th, concerns are growing over the possibility of a strike by teachers in Alberta after a breakdown in contracts between the Alberta Teachers Association, the ATA, and the provincial government. Contract talks had been taken place last week with the help of a mediator, but the UCP government is now accusing the ATA of walking away from the bargaining table. So far, the union has not served strike notice, but if province's 51,000 teachers do not plan, sorry, let's try that again. So far, the union has not served a strike notice, but if the province's 51,000 teachers do plan to take job action, the union must provide 72-hour strike notice. The ATA has said wages, classroom conditions, overcrowding, and resources for students are the main issue. The government claims its latest contract offer includes hiring 3,000 new teachers over 3 years and boosting teachers' pay by 12% over 4 years. Quote, "We are deeply concerned and disappointed with the decision of the Alberta Teachers Association to break off negotiations with so much at stake and so close to a reasonable settlement," the government said in a statement released late Thursday by Alberta's Ministers of Education and Finance. It seems from other things that I've read that this offer to hire 3,000 new teachers over 3 years doesn't really make a substantial difference because there are more than 3,000 teachers that are slated to retire over the course of that time. So if you're hiring fewer teachers than those who plan to retire, you're not exactly reducing classroom sizes now, are you? Just saying. Speaking at a Friday morning news conference in Calgary, Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaitis claimed for the latest contract offer gives the union everything it's been asking for. Quote, "Unfortunately, it's becoming increasingly clear that the Alberta Teachers Association union leadership is only interested in playing politics with our kids," said Nicolaitis. Of course, right? Because that's what teachers do. They play politics with kids. It certainly would never be the government who would play politics with kids. And I would love a fact check on Minister Dimitrios Nicolaitis' statement that the latest contract gives the union everything it's been asking for, because it seems to me that if the contract was giving the union everything it had been asking for, the union would accept it. They're not. So I'm going to guess that that statement by Mr. Nicolaitis is not exactly factually correct. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Quote, "Parents should be furious that union leaders are gambling with their kids' future and their learning." Hmm. See how they do that? Parents should be furious that they're doing the terrible things. So it's like, we're the one that's not funding them and refusing to pay them what they're worth, but it's their fault. Blame them. Speaking at a news conference in Edmonton later Friday morning, ATA President Jason Schilling said the wage offer made by the government was already turned down by the teachers in the spring when they voted 95% in favor of strike action if needed. Quote, "Teachers cannot accept a salary offer that does not attract and retain Alberta teachers by catching up and keeping up with inflation," said Schilling. "Teachers have only received a 5.7% wage increase in the last decade. A fair wage is not just about money, it's about showing respect for the value teachers bring to Alberta's education system," he added. Schilling also calls the province's offer to hire 3,000 more teachers, quote, "a drop in the bucket to address population growth in an already strained education system." Quote, "As students begin again attending classes across the province, they will once again be returning to a public education system that spends the least per student in Canada," said Schilling. News of the breakdown in contract negotiations comes just a day after Alberta Finance Minister Nate Horner announced that the provincial budget deficit is projected to increase to $6.5 billion this year. And a lot of people have been making the comment that last year they boasted like they could not believe of having a surplus, but this year, all of a sudden, the budget deficit is scheduled to increase to $6.5 billion. Just so happens that the deficit is increasing in a year that you have to renegotiate with teachers. My, how convenient. Hmm. News because the last big amount, I think they were taking a whole bunch of money and putting it in the Alberta Heritage Savings Fund because they had so much left over. 'But this year they don't. So, but they can't seem to either find the money or be willing to dip in the savings fund to make sure that children are properly educated and have class size ratios that are decent. Okay, Alberta. News. That budget deficit that's projected to increase to $6.5 billion this year is $1.3 billion more than the finance minister had forecast when he tabled the budget in February. The government blames the lower than expected oil prices for the province's worsening financial situation, or, either lower than expected oil prices or the government's inability to accurately forecast oil prices in a more realistic manner so that when they table the budget's always going to look better to get accepted than it actually will be. Could be that too. With this government, you have to wonder because it's not like it doesn't have a extensively prolific track record at being duplicitous and dishonest. So I have a very great difficulty taking anything this government has to say um, at face value at the moment. And so should everyone else. Seriously, because uh, they're not, it's not serious at all. But yes, according here, um, the teachers in Alberta want more. Uh, the the Minister of Education is saying that he's given them exactly everything they've asked for. A lot of people are rather skeptical about that. And I would be too, as well. According to Dr. Ron Strand, uh, who knows quite a bit about education here. He says, sure, I know is completely fed up with the conditions in their classrooms and school. Here's a breakdown of what's happening. Alberta teachers are heading back to school next week, but negotiations with the province just hit a standstill. The Alberta Teachers Association recently walked away from negotiations aiming for better pay and working conditions amidst rising inflation. President Jason Schilling confirms the strike clause hasn't been invoked yet. Current offers from the province include a 12% raise over 4 years and hiring 1,000 new teachers annually for 3 years. But the Alberta Teachers Association rejects this as insufficient, saying other important issues remain unaddressed. Despite the province's claim of meeting teachers' demands, 95% of educators voted against a prior offer that included pay hikes and classroom improvements. The concerns go beyond just salary increases. Teachers are looking for comprehensive solutions, not just piecemeal fixes. They emphasize that a higher salary can't come at the cost of reduced staff, which ultimately affects classroom quality. With a 95% vote in favor of strike action, teachers have until October 7th to act. They want to enter the classroom next week, but only under improved conditions. And yes, and then Bezos, asks people in this thread, what are their thoughts about the situation? But yes, it does not seem indeed that the minister is doing a particularly good job. And there's a couple of other things that he's been doing as well that we might have some time to get to here. But yeah, um, not um, the claim of the offer on the table being exactly what the union has asked for is dubious at best. Then, if we head off to Nova Scotia, we have at Dalhousie University some action going on there, as according to the CBC, Dalhousie teaching assistants, part-time instructors approved strike mandate. Conciliation talks with university will begin on October 2nd. So Dalhousie University employees that included part-time instructors and teaching assistants have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike mandate ahead of conciliation talks with the school in October. It's a second contract dispute for the university with 1,000 Dalhousie Faculty Association professors, librarians, instructors, and professional counselors on the picket line due to a lockout. In a release on Friday, QP Local 3912 said its members at Dalhousie were 87.7% in favor of the mandate. The union says it's focused on fair wages for workers that reflect the cost of living in Halifax, better job security, and access to basic health benefits. The union will next return to the bargaining table with the university for conciliation on October 2nd. Quote, the university knows that we are serious about achieving a fair and equitable contract, the union said in the release. The Dalhousie Faculty Association has been locked out since August 20th. Classes at the university are scheduled to begin on Tuesday, but any taught by DFA members are suspended. Classes taught by non-DFA members, including part-time instructors, will go ahead. CUPE Local 3912 members at Dalhousie previously went on strike in 2022 after 2 years of contract negotiations that resulted in an impasse. At that time, there were around 1,500 CUPE members at Dalhousie. Wages were a big focus of those discussions, which ended with a ratified contract that offered a 23% pay raise over 4 years to all teaching assistants and a course contract wage increase of 23% over 4 years for new part-time academic instructors. That collective agreement, which began on September 1st, 2020, expired on August 31st, 2024. In an email, Dalhousie University said it began negotiating a new agreement this past spring and that CUPE filed for conciliation in August. The university said it remains optimistic a deal can be reached and that no strike action would be possible until conciliation has ended and a 14-day cooling off period has finished. So that's a lot of the things having to do with a labor action here going on, kits and cups. Now, since we're talking about school as well, there's also issues related to enrollment happening, kits and cubs, both in the province of Quebec and elsewhere throughout the country. Um, Now, for an idea of what's going on in the province of Quebec, there are many reasons for this. Some of them have to do with the federal mandates on caps on immigration, particularly for temporary uh, residents, so such as students that are coming from international um, regions to come and study in Canada. There was also some moves by the CAQ in Quebec to change um, education in the three English language universities and creating additional requirements for those students to learn French and other types of caps in that case. So here we have a story from the CBC here that focuses a little bit on Quebec. So I'll show you this clip and then I will talk to you about other places in Canada where similar issues are being experienced. And of course, as you know, we've reported on the show before, in Ontario, I think it is, there are 10,000 fewer people working in post-secondary, particularly colleges, as a result of the immigration caps and, of course, chronic underfunding by the province of Ontario, particularly under Premier Doug Ford. But here we are with some of the issues as they pertain to Quebec.
Universities are dealing with a drop in admission requests from international students who want to study in the province. They say this is hurting them financially and damaging their reputation.
These students that are really important for our capacity to innovate, for our innovation, for the work that they are doing in our lab.
According to Quebec's Inter-University Cooperation Office, applications from international students dropped 46% between April 2024 and April 2025 across all universities in the network. When it comes to applications from foreign students, Université de Montréal and Concordia both reported a 37% drop, while McGill, it was at 22%. At some universities, the number is well over 50%. The group blames the drop in numbers on the federal and provincial government's immigration restrictions.
In 2025, Quebec has lost, in a sense, the battles for talent international. We do not have enough Quebec students to actually help the research that has to be done there. And international students are key to enable us to reach the economic goals that we have.
The federal government has implemented a 2-year cap on international student permits with a target of 437,000 permits for 2025 and 2026. While in February, Quebec cut the number of international students that can enroll by 20%.
The message that numerous policy changes send is that maybe Canada and Quebec are no longer welcoming international students.
Quebec, Canada, both send the signals that universities are tools for economic development. Why don't we use them to the full extent of what they can provide? That's what we would like to see.
In an email, a spokesperson for Quebec's higher education minister says the government is taking into account the province's capacity to welcome foreign students. They are inviting the universities to take part in the upcoming consultations on the province's immigration plan, something the universities say they intend to do.
So there you go, kits and cubs. That's what's going on in the province of Quebec. But as well, as we mentioned, there are other issues with enrollment throughout the country, as of course, post-secondary education is a provincial responsibility, and the improper funding has not been only limited to Ontario, and playing games with student enrollment isn't only a question in Quebec. But according to CTV News Calgary staff, as a new school year approaches for post-secondary students, early enrollment numbers show a decline due to international tuition caps. Lethbridge Polytechnic tells CTV News preliminary numbers show a decline in overall student enrollment this year, largely because of a 40% decrease in international students, something that Pierre Poilievre pretends is not happening when he keeps on saying that immigration should be lowered and that we should have a net outflow of immigration for the next couple of years. At the same time, domestic enrollment has grown with marked increases in apprenticeships and Indigenous student enrollments. Earlier this year, the institution announced 53 permanent positions were cut as the school faced an $8 million budget shortfall due to the reduction in international student visas. The University of Lethbridge says it's still too early to release initial numbers. We're still a couple of weeks away from the first day of classes. Students are still enrolling in courses, so I won't be in a position to actually provide that information until a little bit later, said Kathleen Massey, University of Lethbridge Vice Provost of Students. This is as of August 28th. But we can see the activity starting to percolate here on campus. We're starting to see more students here, and that kind of vibrancy is really what the university is all about. The first day of classes at the Polytechnic is next Wednesday, with the University of Lethbridge welcoming students back on September 8th. So yes, again, declines in enrollment, and as we mentioned, the one in Quebec as high as in the 30%, and potentially even more based on these actions. So I'm not quite sure how these post-secondary institutions are going to keep funding themselves if there are these caps and the funding is not following. In Ontario as well, there was a freeze on tuition that was placed for several years. I think it's almost a decade that's been in place. So with the freeze in tuition and rising costs for universities, the universities have not been able to get more money through tuition, but the provincial government, when it froze tuition, did not have a fund on the side to compensate universities for the money they would not be getting. So it was essentially the tuition cap acted like a funding cut for the universities as well. And they had to try to make up that money somewhere else. So in Ontario in particular, the post-education sector has been taking it hard on the chin from Doug Ford specifically. Then, since we are talking about education, and once again, Alberta, and once again, we need to talk about Nikolaitis Dimitrios, the education minister. It seems that we had been talking about this for a while. The Alberta government decided to stick its nose into public libraries and whatnot, and alleged that there was tons and tons and tons of graphic sexual content in the books, and that they needed to be able to get a hold of this, and therefore created a new law with regard to what types of books could be in school libraries. And of course, they had to be age appropriate and all that because, well, think of the children. Think of the children. Absolutely. And of course, this is not a book ban by any stretch of the imagination. Do not call this a book ban, they said. Well, at some point, these schools were told to do this new work that the government asked them to do, but the government of Alberta refused to supply them with the funding that they would need in order to be able to review all these books in time. And not wanting to be in non-compliance, um, there are things going on where certain um, libraries are donating their books. They're just donating their books to people because they don't have the time or the resources to go through all the books to determine which ones meet the directive and which ones don't. So, if we don't want to be stricken for non-compliance, then um, let's just not have any books. Apparently, seems to be the thought process at some point. Um, that's pretty scary. Another part that is scary is that, well, even though the government of Alberta keeps on insisting that they chose the books themselves, came out in the news. This is according to The Guardian. Right wing parents' rights groups gain ground in Canada as Alberta book bans target LGBTQ plus titles. Two such groups claim they persuaded Alberta to institute a sweeping public school book ban and that may have even suggested some titles of books that should go. Socially conservative parents' rights groups that have emerged as powerfully political lobbying groups in the US are quickly gaining ground in Canada. Academics and free speech advocates say after two such groups claimed they had persuaded Alberta to institute a sweeping public school book ban that the government of Alberta does not recognize as being a book ban. Alberta recently directed schools to purge library books from shelves that fit its definition of, quote, explicit sexual content by October 1st. If the policy is applied precisely as outlined, a host of books face being purged, including George Orwell's 1984, due to passages in the text that discuss sexual intercourse and rape. Academics and researchers who examine censorship say the policies specifically target books that affirm LGBTQ plus identities, which they say is the goal of right-wing parents groups. Quote, they'd been working on the government for months to get them to do this, said James Turk, the director of the Centre for Free Expression at Toronto Metropolitan University. Turk says he and his colleagues are following more than 25 socially conservative groups across Canada that have similar mandates. Turk pointed out to the Miramichi Freedom Warriors, a New Brunswick-based group, and Concerned Citizens Canada, based in Manitoba, which have also been demanding that books that positively represent queer communities be removed from public libraries and schools. Many of these groups emerged as anti-vax groups during the COVID-19 pandemic and then used social media to widen their scope of causes, including strict parental oversight. And of course, in Canada, the rule is supposed to be that while you as a parent have the choice to decide what it is that your child can read, you have no damn say in the choice of what my child can read. And these people want to make decisions for everybody's children, including those that are not their own. Quote, it's a major initiative right now that grows out of this notion that our kids are our property, he said. It's a very backward looking, reactionary way of understanding how children learn. Lobbying by some parents groups has also prompted Alberta to institute opt-in sex education in fall 2024 instead of opt-out, which means parents must now actively sign their children up for those classes. In June, following advocating from the Alberta Parents Union, Alberta also introduced new rules that require all presentations focusing on gender identity and sexuality to be vetted by the provincial government. The two groups in Alberta, Action 4, the number 4 Canada, and Parents for Choice in Education, PCE, have taken credit for precipitating the province's book ban. The Alberta government confirmed it had met with PCE to hear their views, as reported by the Investigative Journalism Foundation, IFG, a Canadian nonprofit newsroom. And that's the story that we had brought to you, I believe, at the time that it appeared. The Alberta government defines, quote, explicit sexual content in its policy as, quote, content containing a detailed and clear depiction of a sexual act. Students from kindergarten to grade 12 cannot access any, quote, content in a school library that meets this definition. PECE sent an email to its followers after the ban came down, thanking them for their efforts in contacting government officials about graphic books, such as reported by the IFJ. Alberta has not provided a list of specific books to remove, saying instead that schools must apply their new policy and toss books that do not fit their standards. So, it's not a book ban because we didn't supply you with a list. We just want you to remove every book in your library that contains content that has content containing a detailed and clear depiction of a sexual act. That's the rule. Put a pin in that because that will be useful information for what's coming next that I'm going to deliver you. But they didn't provide a list of books. They just said all books with content containing a detailed and clear depiction of a sexual act. Gone for all students from kindergarten to grade 12. That's the rule. Okay? And of course, not providing you with a list, schools must apply their new policy and toss the book. So schools have to go out and do the search themselves. So there's no standard, right? One school could decide that 1984 does, and one school could decide that it's not. There's no uniformity, there's no nothing, there's no method, there's no rigor, there's no nothing. They want to protect the kids, but there's no systematic way to actually do it. That's up to you. You just get it done by October 1st, and you get no extra money for it from us to do that. That's what the government of Alberta did. But the province has identified 4 graphic novels as examples of books to be culled: Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, Fun Home by Alison Bechdel, Blankets by Craig Thompson, and Flamer by Mike Curato. All 4 are globally acclaimed coming-of-age stories about teenage life and young adulthood. 3 of the books focus on stories that represent the LGBTQ+ community. PCE and Action for Canada also claimed they alerted Alberta about the 4 books. Alberta's Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides and other provincial officials have insisted they are not looking to erase queer stories from school shelves. But Action for Canada and PCE openly expressed disdain for the LGBTQ+ community, and it seems they are working hand in hand. But no, it's not about erasing queer stories from school shelves. No, not at all. No. Ira Wells, an associate professor of literature at the University of Toronto and author of the book on book banning, said Alberta's ban will likely cause a purge of marginalized voices from school libraries. Quote, "What we are seeing in Alberta is as extreme as we have seen in the southern United States and other centers of book banning." Wells warned that the move set a dangerous precedent for the province and could have wider effects on the country. Canada's provinces and territories each manage their own education system, but Wells argued that the issue of book bans was so concerning that the country's federal government should consider intervention through an order that would ensure book selection is based on an educator's professional training and not on personal beliefs. Quote, "Anti-book banning legislation is something that the federal Liberals should absolutely be exploring," he said. So this has gone into effect. And well, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, of course, has sounded the alarm on this, saying that following the government of Alberta's directive to restrict access to certain educational materials, the Edmonton Public School Board has identified over 200 books, including The Handmaid's Tale, that are slated to be removed from school libraries. Quote, "The banning of books is the hallmark of censorship, not democracy," said Howard Sapers, executive director of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. By targeting works like The Handmaid's Tale, the government is not protecting students, rather, it is depriving them of the opportunity to learn, think critically, and engage with literature that reflects important social and political realities. Schools should empower students to be informed and critical thinkers, not shield them from reality. Works like The Handmaid's Tale have long been taught in schools across Canada as powerful tools for discussing human rights, democracy, and equality. Removing them from school libraries sends a chilling message to educators and students alike. Banning books that confront issues of gender and sexuality silences marginalized voices and erases important stories that help students understand the world around them. Our school libraries must remain places where diverse voices are heard and respected, not silenced. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association urges the Alberta government to immediately reverse this harmful decision, which would result in the removal of essential education materials in the province's school libraries. We call on community members, librarians, educators, and students to speak out against this alarming act of censorship and to stand up for the fundamental freedoms that are essential to a healthy democracy. So that's the position of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. So some of the school boards got to it, and it seems that, as we mentioned, the Edmonton District School Board, I'm going to guess that it is, created its list based on the directive. And this is according to CTV's Hannah Kavanaugh here. Several award-winning books may be removed from Edmonton Public School libraries amid new rules from the Provincial Ministry of Education and Childcare. A list sent to Bridget Sterling, a former Edmonton Public School Board trustee, shows that hundreds of books are subject to leave school library shelves. On Friday, EPSB confirmed to CTV News Edmonton that the list is accurate. It actually contains some really significant works of literature, Sterling told CTV News Edmonton in an interview on Thursday. They're books that allow youth an insight into the worlds of other people. The list includes novels like The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and Forever by Judy Blume. Sterling said she noticed many books written by women, LGBTQ plus 2S authors, Indigenous authors, and historically racialized writers. Quote, we want kids to be reading voices from a whole range of perspectives in school, and it's troubling to see who's now going to be left out, she added. Board Chair Julie Kusiak said in a statement that the board agrees with concerns raised regarding the list, although they are working to comply with provincial legislation. An email statement to CTV News Edmonton encouraged those with concerns about a flagged book to contact the education minister directly. Cusick added the board had initially objected to the provincial changes before the order to flag and remove books was issued. Quote, division staff worked over the summer to ensure that only books that directly met the criteria in the ministerial order were added to the division's removal list, the statement read. This past May, Alberta Education Minister Demetrius Nicolaitis issued an order to flag books with inappropriate, explicit, or non-explicit sexual content. On Thursday, Nicolaitis told CTV News Edmonton the Alberta government had not provided a list to the EPSB. We have asked Edmonton Public to clarify why these books were selected to be pulled, and we will work with them to ensure the standards are accurately implemented, he said in an emailed statement. So, in other words, they issued an order. The Edmonton Public School Board complied with it, and now the government of Alberta is not happy with the way that the Edmonton Public School Board complied with it. Whoa, that's too many books. That's too many books. We're going to have to work with you to ensure the standards are accurately implemented. Well, or you could have taken more time to write your declaration, your law, or whatever, to ensure that the standards you wanted to be implemented accurately were actually spelled out accurately. And therefore, you wouldn't be needing to take time to ask school boards to clarify why they selected certain books based on the rule that you put out for them, and then wouldn't fund them to do. You see how this is not a cost-effective exercise? Nicolaitis added that, quote, children should not be exposed to content like oral sex, sex toy use, or child molestation, and that is why we created the policy. But the policy says any depiction of sex. Any depiction of sex, if I remember correctly. He clarified that some non-explicit sexual content may be accessible to students in grade 10 and above if it's age appropriate, and the Edmonton School Board list does not differentiate between students that age and other younger students. Alberta was up to this point working with voluntary guidelines for library books wherein school boards would follow their own processes for selecting age-appropriate and relevant materials for students. The order was created to ensure, quote, young kids are not exposed to sexually explicit books, Nicolaitis said. The minister previously told Calgary reporters that a group of concerned parents had approached him with information about explicit materials in school libraries, which alerted him to the issue. Sterling said that without more provincial direction, school boards will most likely have to make similar decisions to EPSBs by October 1st, when the new rules are meant to come into play. Quote, school divisions are left making their own best guess as to what is allowed, but these are books on the list of, Let's try that again. School divisions are left making their own best guess as to what's allowed, but these are books on the list of ones that are often challenged. And they're not challenged because they're graphic pornographic material, she said. James Turk, the director of the Center for Free Expression at Toronto Metropolitan University, said many of the books on the list don't contain much, if any, sexually explicit material. Quote, if they pulled Brave New World, we're into a really crazy world, he said in an interview Thursday. He argued that many of the books being flagged for removal deal with difficult or controversial subjects, but not always sexually explicit ones. Quote, it's the problem of censorship, he added. For several thousand years, people felt the way to make the world better is by preventing everyone from seeing, hearing, or reading anything that you think is wrong. He said the problem with the ministerial order comes from the fact that it was petitioned by, quote, Action for Canada's Calgary chapter, a lobby group, he said, that is against public education. Quote, they're going after books in school libraries they think shouldn't be there. They just ideologically say nobody should read these books, so we're going to get them pulled. He said pulling inappropriate books is a massive exercise that teachers and librarians are trained in because they're familiar with the age and learning levels of the students. Quote, I think, broadly, most Canadians think of freedom of expression is a good idea, Turk noted. Quote, all of us are in favor of free speech until we come across expressions that we don't like. So, books came out, and like I said, the list of books was put out. And then, of course, um, the removal of those books sparked backlash from educators, authors, and students. Tons of them. Tons of backlash. It's incredible. Edmonton Public School confirmed staff reviewed the ministerial order and developed a list of books flagged for removal. Board Chair Lee Kusiak said the policy is forcing out valuable works. Quote, as a result of the ministerial order, several excellent books will be removed from our shelves this fall. Families and community members have raised numerous concerns to the Board of Trustees regarding the list of books that will be removed. We encourage anyone who has a concern about a book being removed or the criteria for book removal set out in the ministerial order to contact the Minister of Education and Childcare directly. I see what you're doing here, Kusiak. I see what you're doing. Cusick said the board opposed the changes before the order was issued. Alberta's two largest school divisions outside Edmonton are also responding. The Calgary Board of Education said it is, quote, in the process of reviewing more than 500,000 individual book titles and aligning policies with the new regulations. The Calgary Catholic School District confirmed it will comply with provincial rules. Could you imagine the Calgary School Board of Education is reviewing more than 500,000 individual book titles? Do you know how much time it takes to do that? You know how many students could be helped if that time was spent directly on them? Unbelievable. Quote, our staff, the Calgary Catholic School District confirmed it will comply with provincial rules. Quote, our staff have just returned to work this week and will continue to work on this process in alignment with the provincial direction. Adding that the division remains committed to, quote, safe and caring learning environments. So yeah, they got all this background. According to authors, for example, have responded with criticism. The inclusion of well-known novels has drawn sharp criticism from celebrated authors. Atwood made the following post to social media Friday. Oh yes, and I will put that. She made a really great post that she essentially mocked people making this decision. Hopefully I will have a chance to include it here in the show today. Jodi Picoult, whose novels have also appeared on challenged books lists in the United States, said she was disheartened to see Canada following the trend. Her book, 19 Minutes, was included on the list of books removed from Edmonton Public School libraries. Quote, it's disheartening to see that the American epidemic of book banning has spread to Canada, Picoult said in an email statement to CTV News. While it is fine for one parent to decide what his or her child reads, it's unconscionable for that same parent to make that decision for someone else's child. She said, removing a book based on isolated passages ignores its broader literary merit. Quote, we have years of research proving that book bans do not protect children, but instead remove tools to help them navigate an increasingly difficult world. Kit Dobson, an English professor at the University of Calgary, said the removals could have long-term consequences for students. Quote, I think when the government announced their policy over the summer, the concern was what that was going to look like in practice. Now that we're seeing it in practice, this order indeed is going to involve the removal of really a lot of books from school libraries. Dobson said literature is about complexity and nuance, and she is worried the order could disproportionately affect LGBTQ plus representation. There's a lot of fear that there is picking and choosing by the government in terms of what's going to go in and what's going to go out. The directives from the government seem to remove context, remove nuance, and create a set of directives that school boards are going to be scrambling with now. Library professionals have also raised alarms. Laura Winton, past president of the Library Association of Alberta, said the policy makes Alberta the only province with an explicit framework for censorship in school libraries. Quote, we had real concerns at the time about the lack of clarity and subjectivity that was going to be involved in making decisions about what actually had to be removed. It's upsetting to look at all of the incredible titles on that list, but certainly not surprising. She said decisions about school library collections should be left to trained educators and librarians, not politicians. Censorship as a whole is the problem, not the specific list that was created, Winton said. This violates children's rights to free expression and access to information. We should be leaving it to teachers, librarians, and trained educators to make selections for school libraries. Boy. Yeah. So the ban is implemented. One school board gets ahead, releases the list, and then, um, well, it seems that the premier of Alberta basically said, "You need to do this," and then set out the directive. They wrote the directive. The directive states uh, basically uh, any depiction of this content that they find objectionable, and then uh, basically complained, Enforce it, but not like that." That's not what we asked you to do. That was not our intention. Yeah, it was. The intention is what is written in the law. The school boards complied with how you wrote the law. If what the school board did is going far beyond what it is that you claim you wanted, it's your fault for not writing the law accurately and precisely enough. The school board gave you exactly what you asked for, but now you don't like it. And now you're claiming that this is not what you intended, when we all know this is what you intended. But here's a little something from CBC News with regard to Danielle's reaction to getting exactly, precisely what she asked for.
You're looking at some of the 200 plus books banned from Edmonton Public School libraries, all deemed to have inappropriate sexually explicit content, including
They should have never given us uniforms if they didn't want us to be an army.
The Handmaid's Tale, a dystopian story by Canadian author Margaret Atwood, made into an award-winning TV series. Atwood posting, "Hi kids, Handmaid's Tale has just been banned in Edmonton. Get one now before they have public book burnings of it." The list is the result of a new provincial policy that directs school boards to ensure all library content is age appropriate. This list is the first to be made public. You have 6 titles on this banned book list.
Is that all? They haven't found the rest of them yet.
Most of American author Ellen Hopkins' books are banned in parts of the U.S.
From there, it goes to telling teachers what they can and can't teach in their classrooms. I really hope that what the kind of creeping authoritarianism that's has happened here doesn't make its way north.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says this list misses the mark.
Edmonton Public is clearly doing a little vicious compliance over what the direction is. And so if they need us to hold their hand through the process to identify what kind of materials are appropriate, we will more than happily work with them.
The book policy was initiated by a group of parents concerned about 4 coming-of-age graphic novels that depict sexual Tues LGBTQ+ content. All 4 books are on the banned list, but the group says the school board isn't taking this seriously.
They're trying to find a way to not have to take the inappropriate books off of shelves. They would literally rather ban classic books or play roulette with it than protect kids.
Alberta school boards have until October to figure out which books they're banning. School starts with or without emptier shelves in a few days. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
So you will notice that Danielle Smith there, in her usual smug, punching down way, blaming other people, and created this new term called vicious compliance. And it was accusing the Edmonton School Board of going in and over-banning so as to create some type of public outcry in the hopes that they don't have to ban at all. Um, it's an interesting strategy. Basically saying, you know, suggested that Alberta's education ministry could hold their hand so that the specific books they wanted to be eliminated are the ones that are eliminated. So we've gone from a provincial government that did not provide a list because they did not want to receive the blowback from this and said, we're leaving it up to your discretion, school boards. The problem is that that was the case. It was up to their discretion. The schools were using their discretion until Nicolaitis decided to stick his nose in it based on the complaints of these two sort of parental rights groups. So, but now she's gotten blowback and she doesn't like blowback. So now she's trying to find a way to blame the school boards for the fact that she got exactly what she wanted. So she accuses them of vicious compliance and now is going to hold their hand. So basically, whatever happens after this is technically the list that she would have given them had she had the courage to say specifically, these are the books I want you to ban. But that's not what she did. She had Nicolaitis write some type of law or directive stating what should be banned. And they said any depiction. So I have a feeling that if vicious compliance, actual vicious compliance, there is, and I do not believe that there is, but if actual vicious compliance there is, the only reason for it would be was because the school boards know that had they not complied so viciously, duplicitous Danielle would have viciously attacked them for not complying. That the plan all along was here's this directive that's sort of broad. You do the work. And let's say she expected the school boards not to remove all of them or say, well, this one we can make an exception for, and then go back and point to that book and, aha, you school boards are all terrible. And maybe like Doug Ford is doing in Ontario, seize control of some of those school boards because clearly they're not competent enough to run themselves. So the school board might have over-complied to avoid falling into that trap, to avoid that setup. And now, well, this little tantrum, the latest tantrum, stems from the fact that they complied in a manner that does not allow her to make her next move as planned, which was to keep on attacking the school boards. Over-complying is a defensive move in this case. So Danielle underestimated the school board's willingness to comply, to give her exactly what she asked for, which is kind of ironic because Nicolaitis is saying that he gave the teachers exactly what they asked for in terms of their compensation agreement, which is not true. But in this case, the school boards gave them exactly what they asked for in terms of the law. And well, now she's not happy. Funny that. So, yeah, not quite sure exactly how this is going to end at this point. But yes, if she's going to go in there and hold their hands, then we are going to find out what exactly is the list of books that she personally wants banned. And the funny part about this is that as all of this was going on like this, somewhere along the way came some question about Ayn Rand. It was a very interesting author, and her stating that Ayn Rand books should be books that all children should read, should be mandated, should be some core reading. This, but Ayn Rand books have passages that would meet the definition of sexually explicit content in a book as written in the law itself. But yeah, she thinks kids should be exposed almost mandatorily to Ayn Rand, but not Margaret Atwood. Just let that sink in a bit. Ayn Rand, yes. Margaret Atwood, no. That seems a little weird to me. That sounds very weird to me. So Margaret Atwood decided to tweet something. And she says, here's a piece of literature by me, suitable for 17-year-olds in Alberta schools, unlike, we are told, The Handmaid's Tale. Sorry, kids, your Minister of Education thinks you are stupid babies. Here's the piece of literature. John and Mary were both very, very good children. They never picked their noses or had bowel movements or zits. They grew up and married each other and produced 5 perfect children without ever having sex. Although they claimed to be Christian, they paid no attention to what Jesus actually said about the poor and the good Samaritan and forgiving your enemies and such. Instead, they practiced selfish, rapacious capitalism because they worshipped Ayn Rand. Though they ignored the scene in the Fountainhead where welcomed rape is advocated because who wants to dwell, and also that would have involved sex and would de facto be pornographic, well, it is kind of. Eh? Oh, and they never died because who wants to dwell on, death and corpses and yuck. So they lived happily ever after that. But while they were doing that, The Handmaid's Tale came true, and Danielle Smith found herself with a nice blue dress, but no job. The end. And ever since that came out, every single picture of Danielle wearing a blue dress that people can find has been indeed started circulating. Now, Dr. Ron Strand, who we mentioned earlier, said the benefit of censorship is the increased likelihood that kids will read the book. Yes, a bit of the Streisand effect. And here's the thing, kids and cubs, parents, maybe some early words of wisdom. Banned books are the best books. So if you have trouble with this kind of thing, why not get your hands on the list from the Edmonton Public School Board? And why not buy your children a couple of these books? Let's make reading subversive again. Let's make reading cool again. Banned books are the best books. Parents, buy your children banned books to read. Just saying. And now that the premier really doesn't want you to read this book is cool now. Huh? Dig between these covers and see what it is the premier of your province doesn't want you to see. Yeah, if you're the type that likes to resist. Banned books make wonderful graduation presents, birthday presents, Christmas presents, just because I'm thinking of you presents. Just saying. Great back to school presents. New pack sack, new clothes, a couple banned books for your reading pleasure on your own time. Oh, and of course, the Bible is not on the list, of course. Yes. Even though we have that whole passage, I think, I'm not sure if it's in Genesis or Exodus, where all these people are begatting people. And Lord knows we should not talk about begatting people unless the children ask what begat means and how it comes to be that someone has to beget someone. That would surely be an uncomfortable conversation. It's like in the United States where they're in Texas, I think, where they're demanding that they post the 10 Commandments in school. It's like, oh, I would not like to be the teacher who has a grade 3 or grade 2 student come to me and ask me what adultery is. I would have a interesting time trying to explain the concept of adultery to a grade 2 or grade 3 student. But you can just put it up there in class, and thou shalt not commit adultery, and expect nobody to ask what that is. Because kids are not curious at all. These people, I swear. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my God. All right. So yeah, labor and education, kids and cubs. That's the stuff going on today. Banning books, dropping enrollment, underfunding, um, all of it just happening. Job actions, teachers who might not be in class, people at Dalhousie University already having some classes um, suspended or postponed or delayed or whatever. But yeah, uh, great. Well, it's just, we keep on saying it on the show, kids and cubs. Our premiers are the problem, particularly our conservative minded premiers. This type of stuff, you know, this particularly, the particular caps on education for Anglophone post-secondary students that are the genius idea of the very ethnocultural uh, government of Quebec at the moment, conservative and ethnoculturally focused. The banning of books and pretending, oh my God, we're broke, just in the year when it comes time to negotiate with teachers in Alberta. Um, Again, in the province of Nova Scotia, also led by Conservative Tim Hewson, teaching assistants and part-time instructors not getting paid what they're worth and not being valued what they're worth. And then, of course, Ontario with the tuition caps and no compensation for institutions for lack of revenue, and then the cap as well. 10,000 employees of all kinds through the post-secondary system, primarily the college system, just gone. Just gone. These are decisions by premiers. And in all four provinces, they are ideologically conservative premiers. They don't care about education. You can file under all of this under conservatives hate your kids. They don't want them to be educated. They do want a lot of them to go into the trades, though, so that they can become human capital and start working. And there's nothing wrong with the trades. We should have much better education in the trades and much better financing and student loan programs and all that kind of stuff, because it is education. It is post-secondary education, just like anything else. There is no knowledge that is bad knowledge in that kind of sense. Whether you are learning about philosophy, whether you are learning about applied arts, or whether you are learning to do a trade, all of it is education and knowledge. All of it is useful. All of it serves a very, very, very useful purpose to society. None of it is wasted. All of it should be equally valued. We shouldn't be looking down or up at one over another, because it takes all kinds of people, and all kinds of knowledge, and all kinds of intelligence to make a functioning society. But that's not the case that we have now. at the moment. We seem to have conservative premiers that want to really, really direct people towards one type of education versus the others, and severely underfunding certain types of education. Um, and yeah, I'm not particularly down on that. I'm not down on punching down on experts and people who get uh, gender studies degrees any more than I was down back in the day on punching down on people who got trades education because it wasn't high level university educated stuff. It's all post secondary education. It's all citizens taking extra time, spending money, putting their dedication to learning something more so that they can contribute more to society. All of that is good. All of that is good. There's no reason for any of this. So, yeah, I am very disappointed with these premiers and this whole entirely movement that seems to be people who are smart or people that have gone to get education that might have a dedicated critical thinking component. Because again, we're making this assumption that there is no critical thinking required if you are in the trades. And I would beg to differ when it comes to that, right? But there seems to be some type of um, uh, disdain for expertise, for knowledge, for higher advanced education that doesn't do anything other than, yeah, this is broke, fix it. And how much do I pay you or not pay you in order to do that? And you can't have a society that functions like that, right? You can't have a functioning society without tradespeople, just like you can't have a functioning society without people who are experts in epidemiology and vaccinology and all that kind of stuff. Even though you don't like the fact that they might say that vaccine saves lives. You're not going to have a functioning society without either of them. They both should be valued and they should both be championed. And provincial governments who have health and education as core mandates, when it comes to post secondary education, including trades, that's part of your core mandate. That's part of the things that you absolutely must do for us to have a highly functioning economy and very productive. And it's our conservative premiers who, once again, are the problem and are letting us down. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We are very, very excited when you do that, especially when you share a little bit of a word of your own. And I know that once this is over, kids and cubs, I cannot wait to go back in the chat and see what all you have wrote on these subjects, because I know for a fact that the kids and cubs that watch the live show have lots of thoughts with regard to people paying people fairly and what it is that they are worth, and with valuing education in the manner that it should be valued, and being anti-censorship. So I know for a fact, I don't even have to look at anything right now. I know after the fact, when I'm going to read these comments after the show, that I am going to be edified by what it is that our audience had to say about this. Because, again, just the level of quality of our audience and your personal curious nature and your, seeking answers on stuff and wanting to understand how the world works and looking for deeper meaning and stuff. I see it every day in our chat. So I know that I am going to be reading some good stuff and I cannot wait. Kids and cubs, if if you would like us to help you a little bit because you are a busy kit and a busy cup, you are on the go, making life happen, doing good in your community, and sometimes you don't have time to watch the video show of us, our video cast. And, but you want to keep abreast of what's going on in the world. Well, hey, don't worry, because thanks to the generous contribution of the Ray Girl once again, uh, our pod page is still up and out and it exists and you can go there. So if you scan that QR code that just appeared or go to podpage.com/the true north eager beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, when you go there and you click on subscribe, zip, when we have something fresh off the audio cast bandwidth, it comes to your favorite podcast feed and then you can take us with you because we are portable, lightweight, aerodynamic. Hey, and looking fresh for the fall season that is to come. Yes, we are in your color wheel, so carry us with you. You will look fabulous. And again, when you would talk to everyone, well, gee, go, wow, what an informed and engaged Canadian. I really need to get to know this person. Very, very important. All right, kits and cubs. Now, if you would like to help us, we would definitely love your help in the form of taking a trip down to our YouTube page where Kits, Elaine, and Cassie will be welcoming you and encouraging you to click our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. They're waiting for you. Just give them a little click. That helps us with the algorithm, and it makes us very happy when we see our numbers go up. So thanks for your help. And if you would like to help us in other ways, it is September. It's a bright new month. We're entering a new season soon. Maybe you would think it's a good idea to help us at the Beaver Lodge being able to produce more of this content for you, especially if it resonates with you. Well, we do need your help because we incur some financial costs to bring this show to you. And any contribution that you can make that is of the financial nature to help us with that would be greatly appreciated. A couple of dollars goes a long way, kids and cubs, here at the Beaver Lodge. So if you would be so kind as to scan this QR code that has just appeared on the screen, or go to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. There you will find the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work very hard to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. So if you want to do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist, well then, a couple of toonies or loonies in our emergency hydration fund jar will do the trick. Buy your favorite beaver a mug of hot chocolate. Maybe you feel sorry for him because he didn't see Hamilton, and you know that a cup of hot chocolate will make him feel much better. Or maybe you would like to buy your favorite grizzly a cup of piping hot and bitter coffee for all the production work that he does to make sure that the video gets to you and all the podcast gets to you and all that kind of stuff. And of course, popping in, as he did yesterday, to share some thoughts with you. All of that would be very, very welcome through our coffee page. Again, coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Any contribution you can make, there is no contribution too small, will be valued and extremely appreciated. Now, kids and cubs, if you are doing the buy Canadian thing still, well, have we got a deal for you? Because let's do this bit at our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. There, you can do a direct bank-to-bank transfer, and that's win-win-win because bank-to-bank keeps your transaction Canadian. It means that no USCE tech bros take a cut, serve as a middleman, and then take a portion of that cut and donate it back to Donald Trump as tribute so he can do terrible things to us. We don't want to encourage that. And of course, when you bypass those USCE tech pros, that means we get 100% of your donation. So your donation goes further here at the Beaver Lodge. And that makes it win, win, win. So there you go. Kits and Cubs, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, our email address. That's for direct bank-to-bank transfer. That's also the email address that you send us to let us know what you think about the show. Because as we always say, if you're not able to contribute financially, it doesn't matter because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And how we know you're paying attention is when you said this stuff. See? So let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly. And if it's ugly, please be kind, but we are open to constructive feedback and constructive criticism. And kids and cubs as well, if you have some ideas for guests on the show, or if you happen to have a home-based business or know somebody who does and can benefit from a little bit of advertising, or know somebody that's working in a community group, maybe you're volunteering for one, and you have an event coming up and you want a little couple more people to know about it than normally would, then give us a call, write to us, and we will absolutely work our best to find a way to be able to help you get the word out. We do have reasonable rates, particularly for community-based groups, and yeah, just let us know what you need, and hopefully we are able to find something that will meet your needs and fit within your budget, because we would really love to help with that. All right, kids and cubs. Because democracy is something that you do. If you happen to be living in Alberta, remember the forevercanadian.ca people are out and about trying to get your signatures to keep Alberta in Canada by getting a referendum question or citizens initiative question that was approved onto the ballot. You need about 294,000 signatures, more to get around duplicitous Danny's planned shenanigans. But once that happens, the question then is determined to have enough support for there to actually be a vote on it. So the good people, led by Thomas Lukasik at forevercanadian.ca, are helping with that. So if you have the opportunity to go to forever-canadian.ca, that's forever-canadian.ca, and there pledge to sign the petition, or find out where there is a pop-up site and make a plan to go there to sign the petition. You have to sign it in person in front of a canvasser. That's because the signature has to be witnessed. That's part of the law. You can make a donation to Forever Canadian to help them with the costs of going around the province and getting those signatures. You might want to look in your region to see, because certain teams are arranging to be able to make house visits for those who are mobility impaired. So you might want to see if that's available in your region. And of course, you can also sign up to be a canvasser if you happen to be living in an apartment building. Let's say there's 50, 60, 100 units in there. A canvasser in the actual building who lives there might be very helpful. Every signature counts. So anything that you can do to either put your own or to gather more signatures would be very, very helpful, or to financially help the organization so that it can gather the amount of signatures required. But democracy is not a spectator sport, and sometimes you've got to put your body into the game. This is one of these times. So if you live in Alberta, any way at all that you are able to help, forever-canadian.ca, please do. It would be greatly appreciated. Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. As I mentioned before, banned books are the best books. Buy your kids some banned books. Just read them with them, even. It's good family activity. All right. Sometimes you might want to be there to read it with them, because there might be some passages in the book that do require, a parent to be there, and talk about it with their kid. But if we're assuming that our kids, um, might be a little smarter and resourceful and creative than we give them credit for, and probably can handle a little bit more about the real world than that for which we give them credit, when they are well circumscribed by loving parents who care about what they learn, then you know what? There's nothing wrong with introducing your kid to more advanced concepts. Nothing wrong with it. Or giving them material that's a little more challenging, or darker, or that has some, more complex themes. Nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you're there to guide them through it and able there to discuss with them. So, yeah, banned books are the best books. Buy your kids some banned books. That's my word of wisdom. All right, kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, at the count of 3, may I please have you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. Oh, that is great. I loved hearing that. That was really good. And there was some harmony going on back there. Well, you asked for it, so I must supply it. Those are the rules. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All kids and cubs, before we head off, a little bit of Canadians who have made us proud over the last little bit of all. Again, congratulations, Devin and Sweetie. Many years of happiness together. Also, big congratulations to our women's para hockey team who were at the first Women's World Championships for para hockey and won the silver medal. It was Canada against the US in the final. And while Canada did not defeat the United States, Canada was the only nation that was able to score a goal against the United States. So there you go. For the inaugural Women's World Para Hockey Championships, Canada, silver medal. Great performance. Thank you so very much for bringing it to us. In the world of rugby, kids and cubs, well, as there were some big tournaments going on over the course of the last little bit, there is the Women's World Cup that is happening, and Canada is playing in that. They have 2 of their 3 games played in pool play, and so far Canada is a perfect 2-0 with a match against Scotland being the next one, scheduled for the 5th of the month. So we will keep on cheering our Canadian women there at the World Cup. Hopefully they will be able to go far in that tournament. And then there was also the Pacific Nations Cup that is happening, which is a 6-nation tournament. And Canada has played its pool games there so far in second place because they defeated the United States but won against Japan. Japan still has to play the United States in this tournament, and that will happen on the 6th. So we won't know whether or not Canada qualifies for the playoffs until then. But a pretty good effort by Team Canada so far. And still a good chance because if Canada defeated the United States but Japan defeated Canada, one would expect Japan would defeat the United States. It just has to be by a margin if they defeat, that's great. And if the United States wins, it has to be by a margin that is not big enough, of course, to make it such that Canada falls into 3rd place. But we will definitely keep our eyes peeled for that. And hopefully we will get some more results in the coming week to see how Canada is doing. Of course, as well, there was other events in which Canada was involved. One of them was the AmeriCup basketball tournament, and there was a bit of a surprise there because both Canada and United States lost their semifinal matches to Brazil and Argentina, respectively, which made it such that Canada was facing United States not for the gold medal, but for the bronze medal. And unfortunately, it was a close match, but Canada lost 90-85. So for 4th place in that tournament, but a very strong performance. When you lose to the United States by only 5 points in basketball, you've done pretty darn well. So there you go. Good results for Canada there. As well, Canada, kids and cubs. This is one result that I'm very happy to report because it comes from the world of badminton. And badminton was the first sport your Eager Beaver got to play at a competitive competitive level at some point in high school. And this was the first time I actually became, was considered somewhat of a jock. But yes, Kits and Cubs. In badminton, there is a gentleman on the Canadian team. His name is Victor Lai, who recently won the gold medal at the Junior Pan American Games. Well, he entered this tournament ranked 50th in the world and had a pretty interesting draw along the way. First round match, fairly. Fairly easy match in that he was playing someone that was ranked 100 or lower, and he managed to win that match fairly easily. And then in the second round, he was playing the number 11 player in the world and managed to win that match. Then in the third round, played another fairly solid player, I think 36 in the world, defeated him, then got to the quarterfinal and faced the number 9 in the world, who also happened to be the 2021 world champion, and defeated him in straight sets to get to the semifinal, where he was playing the number 1 player in the world. He won the first set, or in badminton, we say the first game, because it's a game, not in tennis, and not a set as in tennis, but won the first game. And then the second game had 3 match points, which would have sent him to the gold medal game. But of course, playing the number 1 in the world, well, the number 1 in the world managed to squeak by and win the second game 22-20. And unfortunately, our Canadian player was not able to win the third set, so got eliminated in the semifinal. But because he got eliminated in the semifinal, that means he won a bronze medal in badminton, becoming the first Canadian ever to win a world championship medal in badminton. So congratulations to you, Victor Lai, for having made Canadian sports history as the first ever Canadian to medal at the World Badminton Championships. And over here, Kits and Cubs, since we're talking about him, let's show this guy's image. So, because who knows, maybe one day we may even get our first Olympic medal in badminton because of this young man. He's only 20 from Markham. And recently, well, like I said, won gold at the Junior Pan American Games. So he's just at the beginning of his career and is already given the world number 1 quite a run for their money. Again, just Canada. We have talent, Kits and Cubs. We do. And then finally, Canada, of course, tennis. Got to mention it. At the U.S. Open, Leila Annie Fernandez did lose her match against world number 1 Arina Sabalenka, but really pushed her in the second set, and it was a great match to watch. Denis Shapovalov had a good match against world number 1 Jannik Sinner, having won the first set, losing the second, and had a break lead in the third and fourth, but again, playing against world number 1 and 4-time Grand Slam winner, Jannik Sinner managed to find a way to get ahead and keep ahead. And Denis Shapovalov had to bow out after 4 sets. But again, gave a very, very good fight. The final singles match was Felix Auger-Aliassime against Alexander Zverev, who was ranked number 3 in the tournament and 3 in the world. And Felix Auger-Aliassime actually got the upset and defeated world number 3. And then in his following match, also won. And now he's advanced, I think, to the quarterfinal. So he's playing right now like he's a top 8 player in the world. And the next player he faces is Alex de Minaur, he's one of the fastest people on the courts possible. But if Auger-Aliassime keeps playing like he is, it is a winnable match for him. He defeated Andrei Rublev, who is higher ranked than him in the round of 16 to make the quarterfinal. In doubles, We had some bonus Canadian content because there's a young man, we've mentioned him a couple times, named Cleve Harper, who's been slowly and steadily making his way up the rankings and entered the top 100 this year in men's doubles. He's our highest ranked doubles player. And he teamed up with a double specialist from France, Royer, I believe his last name is. And they did win their first match. They were alternates after a team had to drop out and got included. And yeah, he made the most of his opportunity, won the first round match, didn't win the second round match, but for the first time in his career, he's got to play in a Grand Slam tournament and notched a victory. So congratulations to him. On the women's doubles side, we have Gabriela Dabrowski, who's normally our stalwart player who gets a dependable tennis player in terms of getting far in tournaments. And she's doing well so far with her partner, Aaron Routliff, as well, having won the first 3 matches in the draw for her and advancing, I believe it is, to the quarterfinal, where she'll be playing another double specialist team of a good reputation, Timea Babos of Hungary and Brazil. Can't remember her first name off the top of my head, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Kits and Cubs. But definitely experienced team, but a team that they can handle to get to the semifinal if they need to. But the story of the doubles tournament is, as we have been mentioning on the show, Canadian Leila Fernandez, who's been playing with Venus Williams, brand new partnership and had never played together, defeated the number 6 team in the first round, won the second round, and then won the third round, taking out the number 12 team, and they have not dropped a set yet. So winning all of them in straight sets. But now in the quarterfinal, they face the number 1 team of Siniakova, who's an incredible doubles specialist and has many, many, many doubles Grand Slam titles to her credit, and Taylor Townsend, who, fun fact, was Leila Annie Fernandez's double partner in 2023 at the French Open when they reached the final. They didn't win, unfortunately, but they know each other's game a little bit. So it will be interesting to see how this matchup goes. And I was pretty sure after they won the first match that they had a good path to the quarterfinal. And in fact, they did get there. But now some definitely tough work as they will face the number 1 in the world. And if they do defeat the number 1, then in the next match, they will have to face either the number 4 or number 5 team in the world too. So some very stiff competition there in doubles. But out of all the teams that are left in the tournament, they are the only team that is not seeded in the tournament. So they are the upstarts, they are the Cinderella story, and let's see how far it goes. But this is an exciting pairing that I love, 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 loves to watch play together. Just so some great energy and whatnot. And I would really love to see them go all the way, especially for Venus, because that would be such an incredible story at 45, just deciding, well, she had never fully retired, actually. She had never retired from the game. She always said that she would come back once her health got better, and her health did get better, and she's back. And I tell you, if she comes back in her first Grand Slam tournament and takes the doubles title, that'll be the story for the ages. I mean, she already has a Hall of Fame career, but that would definitely put an exclamation point on it. So I'm very much cheering for them, not only because Leila Annie is playing in there and I want a Canadian to win, but I would really love to see Venus pick up another one. She is pure class, and she deserves this. She's had a really tough road to hoe with health issues over the past few years. And I know that she might be wistfully looking back and wondering what if her health had been better all those years where she was younger. But, doubles, you can play that for a good while and be very successful if you have a good partnership. So I would like that. It's a story that would make me happy and I would like to read and see. So I am hoping for it with all of my little beaver heart. All right, kits and cubs, that's all I got for you today. So I will wish you a wonderful day and hope that everything today smiles down on you, that you have good luck, good fortune, all that good stuff. And that when we meet again tomorrow, We are happy and joyous and coming with a positive frame of mind. And for those of you who are interested in watching these double matches, I do not know if they will be on TV or only online, but Gabriela Dabrowski is slated to play at around 2 p.m. today, and Leila Fernandez with Venus Williams is slated to play that big match around 4 p.m. This afternoon. Those times are Eastern. I'm not sure what they are wherever you are, but and because those times are approximate, because sometimes there's a game on the court beforehand and it could go a little long. So, but around 2 and around 4, you might have the opportunity to see those Canadians in action in doubles. All right. That's all I've got for you today, kits and cubs. Go forth, be merry. If you have an opportunity, if you're on Twitter and you see Devin's account, Devin Haroon, you haven't wished him you know, sent good wishes for his wedding yet, please do so. I know he will be delighted to hear from you and to see those messages. All right. And with that, kits and cubs, like magic, I am gone. Amour et bisous.